So I found this out a while ago. Apparently Venusaur was actually supposed to, like, its vines were actually supposed to have thorns on it. It was definitely not in the final version as far as I'm aware. Venusaur was always more of a plant Pokemon, but then they started kind of turning it into like a dinosaur, sort of, like, you know, it was like, I'm trying to think what kind of Pokemon was. Like, I always get my dinosaurs mixed up, but, you know, obviously Venusaur is a big giant plant that eats plants. Imagine taking care of one of those things in a long time. You start out with a Bulbasaur, and then all of a sudden you wake up and he's an Ivysaur, and then all of a sudden he's like, gained 300 something pounds. It's like, Venusaur, get off my bed. You're gonna fall through the second floor. Or something like that. But anyways, it's I always find all the funny memes on the internet, you know, all the, you know, you go around and you watch, like they say what your Pokemon looks like when they're really really small, and then they evolve into something else, and it's like, we should have gave you the Everstone. You shouldn't evolved. It's funny. But anyways, so yeah, Venusaur was supposed to originally be a plant with thorns on it, but it was also supposed to, I mean, if you really even look at its own beta designs over the years, I mean, it changed a lot. I mean, Ivysaur was the very first Pokemon out of Bulbasaur's evolution. I think then came Venusaur, and Bulbasaur was a lot different. I'm trying to think exactly, like, if they changed it 100%, but its back sprite for the longest time, like, even in the original Pokemon Red, Blue, and Yellow, I think they used the back sprite for the original Venusaur, like, from Pokemon Green, and then they didn't change, but they changed its front sprite, but they still kept the back sprite. Because it's kind of weird, because, like, if you think about it, like, Venusaur's back sprite, at least up until Fire Red and Leaf Green's remake, or even Pokemon Gold and Silver, Gen 2, you know, originally, Venusaur, like, it doesn't look like it's standing on its hind legs, like, in its back sprite, because, like, the Pokemon's at your backside, you know, it's facing you, its back's against you. But when you see Venusaur, though, it looks like it's standing up on its two legs, but its flower is pointed straight up, so it shouldn't be on that angle. And that's why I always was confused, like, why did they do that? Because Venusaur was always my favorite. Like, when I first started playing Pokemon, I always started out with Bulbasaur, because I always thought Bulbasaur was, like, it just gave you that advantage over Misty and Brock. But then I started thinking, I'm like, well, you know, I like Charizard more as time went on, because Charizard was actually very useful, because that, you know, because, like, in Gen 1 you had, like, the slash critical ratio, slash always had a 100% hit ratio somehow. It was a lot more effective to get through most of the game. That's why... You know, that's why somebody asked me, they're like, why did you start out with Charizard when you did the Pokemon Green videos? And that was basically why, because, you know, once Charizard learns that you can just annihilate everything, you know, and then Charizard can just soak up all the EXP, and it just made things a lot easier to run through. Not saying that all I do is solo runs of Pokemon, I do other runs too, but, you know, but it's always nice just to, you know, see the game for what it is, you know, and you exploit, like, something just to get through it in some cases. Not all the time, but, you know, it's good to know that that's always a possibility, though. But yeah, so I would say that the reason they changed the concept for Ivysaur Venusaur is because they wanted to make it look more like a realistic plant. It wasn't just a plant. See, there's differences between, like, you know, Venusaur was supposed to be kind of based on a dinosaur, even though it is not a dragon type. It's a plant and a poison type. It's a grass and a poison type. But what I find really interesting about Venusaur, Bulbasaur, and Ivysaur is, like, they weren't just plants. They were kind of supposed to be like other, like I said, you know, other animals. So they had to change their concept arts a little bit differently. So, and at the same time, though, you also had the concept of Venusaur and all the, like, it wasn't like they took the approach like Bellsprout, for example, where Bellsprout was more of a, like, you know, Bellsprout was, like, not just a plant, it was also, like, able to walk and all that. It was, so it eventually turned into, like, a tree and all that. Because, you know, Victory Bell would eventually be, like, a, you know, a man-eating plant, but also you know, a plant that ate bugs. You know, it was a Venus flytrap, basically. But what I find really interesting as far as the Pokemon go, you know, we actually found out over the time that the series, like, they started kind of changing a lot of stuff. Not just, like, the concepts, but the ideas they must have had as well. And, you know, so Ivysaur obviously changed, and it got evolutions. I mean, hell, even its Beta Cry was even much different compared to its original. It sounded more like gloom in a way, but it was different though, sort of. So a lot of things were turned around, changed, and some Pokemon just, you know, took other things instead of others. So it's actually really interesting how they decided on that, and we got what we did somehow, one way or another, because they recycled it into something else. So obviously Venusaur, I think Venusaur looks a lot better now, because it actually just goes to show you, you can really see what kind of a creature Venusaur really is. You know, it's a plant. It is based on like a dinosaur, but it's not a dragon type though. I don't think, even if it mega evolves, I don't think it's a dragon type. I think it's, what was it, like a grass and a, yeah, it was still a grass and a poison type. But very interesting though. I think it's really interesting how they came up with the series the way they did. So hopefully, in a way, this kind of explains a lot, but we'll have to just keep making more videos the more videos we find. So that's why I believe that, you know, Ivysaur eventually did change over time, but so did Bulbasaur and Venusaur itself. So again, so if you're not subscribed to this channel, please subscribe. I'll keep making more videos, and if you have any requests, just let me know.